Welcome to Mental Health Monday. My name is Mick Coyle. Coming up on the programme this week,
it's a whole mix of emotions, both excitement, anticipation, anxiety that people must be kind of experiencing over this period, and also about the future as well, and that uncertainty about the future.
Like, I've been in school for as long as I can remember, working up to these points. And then the fact that results day is coming up as well just adds to the stress. But I actually think that uncertainty and everything changing all the time is quite dangerous for people's mental health.
It's the Wild West outside of those natural health services that when you are Googling, and you're finding these services, that's the thing that kind of concerns and worries me to a significant kind of extent.
And I'll be reminding you how you can make connections with mental health organisations within your community. It's Mental Health Monday. Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for checking out Mental Health Monday once again. No podcast from last week. I was actually away, had a wonderful weekend. A wonderful week over in Lincolnshire, where we had our holidays. Just managed to get a place that we could rent out for the week. Trips out to the beach, trips into lovely Lincoln, which is a very nice part of the world, and a bit of time away from work. Straight back to it, obviously, for this week, and straight back into the world of work, and straight back into exam results week. Crikey, this has come around. Now, because of the way exams have changed this year, no exams in GCSEs and A Levels, but instead teacher assessments based on the work that has gone on. There may be some fallout from that, which we'll try and touch on future episodes if need be. But what it means is that GCSE and A-level results are both out this week. So Tuesday and Thursday, if you listen when the podcast comes out. So that's where the conversation lies, not just in terms of sort of dealing with exam stress, which of course is absolutely normal, but also speaking to a young person who's been caught up in the whole thing. And it's not just about the day, it's been about the last 18 months, the worry about knowing what's coming from an exam point of view. Will an exam or not doing an exam reflect well on you? Will a teacher's assessment reflect better on you than an exam could have done or would have done? And of course, we build so many of our young people up towards this exam system. Then to take it away and say we're judging you in a different way can of course be really sort of concerning, because it's the very groundwork of which our education system, I'd say unfortunately, is based. But it's where we're talking today, and it's where we're at. Now, there is an organisation called the Organisation for the Review of Care and Health Apps. They're called ORCHA. That's ORCHA, and their managing director is clinical psychologist Dr. Lloyd Humphreys. Now, Dr. Lloyd is one of our guests on the programme, but also one of their interns this year. 16-year-old Ollie Rawlinson-Johns has been working at ORCHA, and as part of the work they do reviewing care and health apps, he's done his own sort of recommendations of apps for young people to use, both based around exam stress and then some wider issues as well. So we're going to hear from Ollie as part of the programme as well. We'll hear about his experience as well and his thoughts headed into this results week too, plus some of these great recommendations on the way. A really important conversation, this one, based around something I never sort of really thought about, in that we often think mental health has got to be positive when we talk about mental health, but actually Dr. Lloyd touches on this in the conversation, some of the resources that are out there aren't sort of scientifically or psychologically sort of accredited, if you like. So there's actually a danger that some things which may be promoting supposedly mental health and well-being, if they're not coming from people who know exactly what they're talking about, there's a risk they may actually be damaging and point people in the wrong direction. And maybe I'm being naive, but you kind of think, well, if someone's created a mental health app, it's got to be positive. But of course, unless it's got the seal of approval and the right accreditations, it's not necessarily always the case. That's something that comes up in the conversation too. So we'll hear from 16-year-old Ollie in just a few moments' time. First up, we'll hear from Dr. Lloyd Humphreys, MD of ORCHA. He's a clinical psychologist, and we talked through the fact that given everything that's gone on with schools closing, schools reopening, online lessons back in, testing, exams being cancelled, teachers' assessments, of course it's no surprise that some young people will be feeling stressed and anxious at this time.
Absolutely. It's a whole mix of emotions, both excitement, anticipation, anxiety, a whole range of different emotions that people must be kind of experiencing over this period, and also about the future as well, and that uncertainty about the future, which is going to be dictated in some part by the exam results that come out next week. And I think that has only been added to by the situation that happened last year in terms of how exams were kind of managed last year, and this year has been slightly different, but still has some of the same anxieties associated with it.
At what point does it become a point where you'd think, well, this is something we need to worry about? Because, of course, for a lot of young people, there's the anticipation, there's the anxiety, there's the stress, but it's leading up to a certain point. And from that point, you can then take certain actions in certain directions. At what point would you say, maybe there's a problem here, maybe there's things you can do just ahead of those results day, just to make sure that people keep on the right side of the anxiety, if you like?
Of course, and anxiety is that there is a helpful amount of anxiety. We call that arousal, and there is sometimes there is a helpful amount that kind of spurs us into action, allows us to kind of cope with situations, etc. But when it kind of becomes too much and overwhelming, that's when it can either paralyze us or actually kind of cause us to impact us in more negative ways. So it's about finding the right level, because that anxiety is normal, it's natural. We would all experience that in that given situation. So the first thing to kind of note is anxiety, that anticipation, all of those things is a completely normal thing to experience. If you didn't, I'd be more worried about an individual. So it's about making sure that it doesn't overwhelm that individual. And if it is, then actually we need to start to think about, right, well, what are the ways that we can kind of cope with that anxiety? And we all have natural coping mechanisms to deal with that. And so it's about digging into those. And if you don't feel that they are helping or that they're giving you enough ability to kind of cope, and they're unhelpful, then we need to start to acknowledge there may be other forms of help that we need to kind of seek.
Yeah, and we'll come on to sort of the digital offer that's out there for young people, and there's a lot out there at the moment. Can I touch though, from a layman's point of view, when young people get to their A level results, their GCSE results, there's a danger, isn't there, that from an adult point of view, you see those things within a much wider perspective of life experiences, and I think we almost play them down to a certain extent, or we say, well, it doesn't really matter because you're still only young and so on and so forth. But of course, for young people, this is the World Cup final, isn't it? This is the thing that sets them up on the next part of the journey, and we can't downplay that, can we, or undermine that?
No, we certainly shouldn't undermine that, because this has been the focus of a young person's life for a significant part of it. And these are gateway exams, obviously, in terms of being able to be a step in the right direction, not the ultimate destination. But for a large number of people, that has been the destination for a strong period of time. It has been the sole focus. And as I said, because it is a gateway, you need to kind of go through that gate. So we shouldn't kind of underplay this, the importance of them. But equally, we shouldn't say that this is a one-stop. This is the only chance you get. So the one thing to bear in mind is that people do have other chances, other routes, other ways to kind of dictate their kind of future. But we shouldn't kind of underplay it at all.
And I think, of course, when we talk about the preempting the day and the emotions, the anxiety that comes with it, of course, we've also got to talk about what comes afterwards, of course, because maybe things have not gone according to plan, or maybe that pathway or route that you saw through college or university has not necessarily closed, but has just shifted in a slightly different direction. And that sort of can bring its own level of uncertainty, make people feel uneasy that the plans that they had in place or a destination that they had in mind is now going to change, probably to an equally enjoyable destination, which they'll have a great time at, but it might not feel like that in any given moment.
Well, I guess the uncertainty has been the thing that has dictated our lives for the past 18 months. And so actually we've had to kind of deal and cope with that uncertainty more than we have at any other time in history, really. And so for me, actually, that uncertainty, young people have learned to kind of cope with that probably better than their peers. And so I would say that actually, maybe, and research has to kind of bear this out, that people may have better coping strategies for that uncertainty, because they've had that kind of 18 months to 2 years to kind of deal with the uncertainty that plagues every every part of their existence, not just their exams or their future. So for me, I think it's quite an interesting kind of idea.
Yeah, I never thought of it like that. That the idea that almost September or October might actually bring with it a wave of a return to normality. So actually, you might also think, no matter where I am at that particular point, at least it's not. At least it comes with an element of certainty, which had an interesting potential way of thinking about it too. Let's bring Ollie into the conversation, shall we? Ollie Rowland-St. who's 16 years of age. Ollie, I'm sure you were sort of thinking about your own experience and have thought about your own experience in the last sort of 18 months or so. It's been a strange time, hasn't it, in terms of the way things have been learning. How's it been for you with that sort of uncertainty around assessments and what sort of exam results you might be getting, of course, and where it might take you in the future? Has that been something, a roller coaster that's been an easy ride, or has that brought with it its own difficulties?
No, I would say it definitely hasn't been an easy ride. And I'm talking for, I think, everybody my age. It was because these exams that we're doing, it's kind of all we've ever known. Like, I've been in school for as long as I can remember, working up to these points. And then the fact that results day is coming up as well just adds to the stress. But I actually think that uncertainty and everything changing all the time is quite dangerous for people's mental health.
I think as well,
people's.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's almost a little bit like, say, England getting through to the European Championship final, but then at the end going, oh, actually, the players aren't going to play at the end. Actually, the coaches are just going to decide which team would have won, which for you must have been thinking, hang on a minute. I mean, nobody really wants to do exams, but you want to show what you're capable of, don't you? You want to test yourself within that environment. Do you feel like that's almost been denied for you a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. But I know a lot of people thought they could have done a lot better if they just did the exam. And also that is what the course is designed for. It's not designed for all these individual assessments. It's designed to do a small number of exams for each subject where you're meant to be able to really show yourself off almost and show what you're capable of. And these assessments didn't really allow anybody to do that, which added to the stress and anxiety that everybody felt.
And I know you've sort of been working hard throughout this period, not just on your sort of the academic side of things, but also you've been working with ORCHA, the Organisation for the Review of Care and Health Apps, to sort of, well, I like this, the idea of an internship, because when you're looking at the digital offer which is out there for young people online, of course, there are 1,000,001 different things, but you've had a specific focus, haven't you, on mental health sort of offers as well. And I guess the sort of need for that has really come about in the last sort of 18 months or so, how crucial it is for young people to be able to find a mental health offer in that digital world.
Yeah, I think we just thought it was the obvious option to pick and to focus on. And we really try to emphasize the accessibility of it compared to other health areas. You know, it's always with you because, you know, if you've got a cold or ill and you need to track that, you don't need that like all the time, whereas mental health, you might need it then and there. And the accessibility of digital health really helps that and kind of molds to mental health.
It was only when I knew we were going to have this conversation, Ollie, that I actually started to think, actually, young people's learning has turned online, entertainment, TV has turned online, socializing, of course, has had to turn online as well. So, of course, mental health provision and support should also be there and be online as well. And it's important that young people know and understand that, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it makes complete sense for it to be online. And everything else is like you were saying. And also, I think younger people are more familiar with being online as well. They're quite tech savvy. So it will feel like quite a comforting environment to be sharing those feelings online.
Absolutely. Dr. Lloyd, I always, when you hear from sort of young people who 20 years ago would have been going, I wanted to focus on, I don't know, football or sports or something else online, it fills my heart with joy when I hear young people almost saying mental health seemed like the obvious thing to talk about, because a generation ago, young people, even though they might have thought about mental health, didn't talk about it within, with a capital M and a capital H. Whereas actually people like Ollie are almost bringing that to organizations like yours and saying, absolutely, we want to focus on mental health because we can see, even though we're young, how important it is. And that's brilliant, isn't it, generationally?
Absolutely. And I think for me, the really important thing here is the way that we can have those conversations now. we've kind of normalized and destigmatized mental health. There's still an awful long way to go, but we're having the right conversations right now that actually mental health is important as physical health. When we think about physical health, we all have it. Sometimes, we're a little bit more poorly if we've got a cold, or we've broken a bone or whatever. But we can talk about physical health and fitness and all of those things. And mental health is exactly the same. We've talked about typically in the past, we've talked about mental illness. And actually, mental health is really important, that we're all on this continuum. And it's okay to kind of talk about it because we all go up and down this continuum all the time. Some days we feel a lot better, about ourselves, the world, and others than on other days. And so, if like with physical health, you're not doing so well, you do something about it proactively. And mental health is exactly the same thing. So for me, the normalization and the recognition that mental health is part of us all, rather than mental illness, is really important. And that kind of gives me great comfort that we're having the right conversations.
Absolutely. And of course, there's been some great examples of sort of like physical manifestations of mental health provisions on high streets and with different communities. But actually, for a lot of people, I think almost the online offer, the phone, the tablet, the website is almost the front line, if you like, because for a lot of people that will be the first thing they'll do. They'll type it into a search engine. They'll look for something that they can look at sort of at a distance without having to come face to face potentially with anyone, just to suss out maybe a conversation or get a sense of what something would be at. And the digital world is perfect for that if the offer is there and the environment is created correctly.
Absolutely. I think we need to meet young people, adults, everybody where they are at. And the reality is that everyone has a relationship with a device, rightly or wrongly. Right now, we have that relationship with technology. If I miss an appointment, I'm a little bit upset that I've missed something. But if I leave my phone at home, then I'm bereft. And so we actually kind of need to meet people where they are at. And if we can then do that in a better way, that we're not relying on Dr. Google, that actually, we are actually finding high quality apps. And that's the whole role of ORCHA, really, with over 375,000 apps on the market, but only 20% of them meeting any sort of kind of quality mark. Then it's really important for organizations like ORCHA to exist, so that we can actually, when someone does go into Google and does, they're able to actually find the right apps that are actually going to help them, that are effective, that are clinically assured, that are actually going to help them in the right way. And the reality, unfortunately, is that there is a whole plethora of apps that not only are ineffective, but can actually be dangerous. So it's really important to meet people where they are, but actually to meet them where they are with high quality services.
I think that's such a key point, because I think people will think maybe for the first time they're stepping into this mental health world, or thinking, right, I'll have a look at this. For them to step into it with the wrong people, with the wrong offer, and then to have a negative experience would be a real shame, wouldn't it? And potentially dangerous for that person as well. So it's so crucial, as you said, and it's so interesting to hear that there are actually only a limited number that have almost got some sort of a clinical kite mark. Is there something that people can look out for? Is there a kite mark? Is there a mark that says this has actually been approved by psychologists? People like yourself have overseen it and have given it the thumbs up, if you like.
Within the National Health Service, ORCHA do, and outside of the National Health Service, ORCHA do provide that assessment of an accreditation of digital health products. So when we provide our libraries to councils, organisations, the NHS, and whoever, every kind of service that appears has gone through a minimum of 350-point item check. And has to kind of reach a certain threshold to be included. So there are those, ORCHA is kind of the global leader in being able to certify and assess the quality of these digital products. Within the NHS, there are other standards, for example, the Digital Technology Assessment Criteria, DTAC, which is a benchmark that digital services should attain. So I'm not kind of concerned about within the NHS. There is a rigorous kind of process. It's the Wild West outside of those natural health services, that when you are Googling, and you're finding these services, that's the thing that kind of concerns concerns and worries me to a significant kind of extent. And as you say, this is maybe the first touch point in terms of people's, talking about mental health. So it's essential that people find the right service for them that is going to kind of help them. And as we know, unfortunately, kind of the internet and technology exposes a person to every kind of walk of life and every type of quality, etc., that is available. Unfortunately, accessibility is both a blessing and a curse in terms of kind of the internet.
So it's worth pointing out to people to look at. I mean, ORCHA's a good resource for that one, ORCHA for that one, ORCHA. But of course, there'll be those trusted organisations as well with their recommended apps that will be that will have the correct provision based around them as well. That's ORCHA, ORCHA, to find out more about that. Ollie, let's bring you back into the conversation. I guess as well, from a young person's point of view, you're also looking for, interface, accessibility. Is this something that I want to spend some time on as well? What was the criteria you were looking for when you were looking at these apps and a provision when it came to mental health?
I think cost was a big one. Obviously, teenagers don't usually have a big income, so cost was a big one, and just easy to use, I guess. Not really, and like good quality, high quality, which is why ORCHA, downloading them through ORCHA, it's probably the best idea to make sure it's at that standard.
Was there a particular issue or avenue you thought, oh, this is the sort of thing I want to be looking at online, or this is the sort of thing that young people might want some help with online? Or were you sort of open to all these different sort of offers and what they might bring?
No, I was definitely open. I mean, different people like different things, don't they? But I was open to, there's lots of different types and different features on the different apps. I mean, like no two apps are the same, so I was open.
Absolutely. Now, the main mental health app that I always use and also recommend is the Hub of Hope, which is this brilliant signposting service where it's a very simple app. It uses the location on your device to signpost you to your local mental health services, and it might be an NHS service, but it might also be a social prescription service. But actually, some of the apps that you've picked out, and we'll just go through some of them now, are all new to me actually, which it just goes to show just how many are out there. You've reviewed these, so if you want to tell us a little bit about maybe some of them. Now, one of them, it's a famous phrase, but it's a little bit different, and it's Me Too, but it's MEETOO, Me Too. What's Me Too about?
I really liked Me Too. So Me Too is like a social media style layout, and it has an age band feature that connects you with other people your age, which I think would really help with in terms of results stress, because it will get you with other people who are going through the same thing. And it basically allows you to talk and connect with people who might be going through similar issues and talk about how you might have gone over it or through your problems.
And do you feel like that was, from what you saw from that app, that it was a healthy environment, there were positive conversations that were taking place?
Yeah, so every post is monitored, and you could tell that a lot of effort has gone into making sure it was a safe environment for everyone. There's also a lot of resources on there to work on your mental health.
That's a good shout. So that's Me Too, MEETOO, and I think that available on both iOS and Android as well. This one's called, I'm going to say it's called Wiser, but it's WYSA. These are all very clever names, by the way. What's Wiser about?
So I picked Wiser because it was so different from Me Too. It's so it allows you to differentiate the app depending on your personal feelings and needs. The app features an AI system that gives human-like responses in real time. And obviously this is focusing on accessibility again. It's really nice to be able to talk to someone without actually having to go see a doctor. If the app recommends loads of different techniques to help relax and improve your mental health and to take your mind off it. And also students get it free, which I think was a really good feature, especially in terms of exam stress.
Absolutely. And that's such a great idea because, well, Lloyd and I generationally, if you wanted to speak to someone, you had to talk to an actual human being. But the idea that there's a program out there that you can have a conversation with, but it's not going to be judging you, and you're not going to have to sit in a slightly awkward room with them, and you're not going to have to go, it can happen there on your phone, I guess allows you to sort of explore your own feelings on an issue without having to get out there too much.
Yeah, that really helps with this because there's quite a big stigma around it. So I think people might find it quite awkward to actually go and sit in a room with someone, and they might not share as much as they would, knowing that you're not actually speaking to a real person.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, also they might, having taken part or done something through the Wiser app, might then have they think actually I'm okay. I've almost had a practice of how I could talk to someone, and therefore speaking to a real person. That's a good one. WYSA Wiser app. Let's do one more. And this one's called A Part of Me, but it's a part, APART, a part of me. What's a part of me all about?
So this is less linked to exam stress. It's an app about coping with grief and losing a loved one. And it is more aimed at the younger generation, but I think teenagers could still use it. And it allows you to, it's very interactive. It's almost like a game. And you go through this world, and along the way, you find journals that are like real life people. And it's like voice messages almost of people who have had lost loved ones and how they coped with it and getting over that and realizing that, you know, it's okay to feel down and being able to relate with those other people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Dr. Lloyd, I mean, the innovation involved in these sorts of services is really sort of first rate. I'm almost tempted to think if we're just going down the old traditional routes, there's the chance we're missing out on some of these sorts of resources online.
It's about choice at the end of the day, because traditional face-to-face therapy is really important for some people. We do know that the therapeutic relationship and the ability to kind of connect with another person, a therapist in some cases, can be really powerful in terms of helping someone's recovery. So it's about delivering kind of choice to someone. Again, as I mentioned, meeting them where they are and how they can kind of talk about it. And if that's easier via kind of technology, then that's great. But if that's in person, and often, the more severe someone's issues are, the better that we take what we call a multidisciplinary approach. We different ways to kind of help that individual. So for me, it's about kind of choice. It's about having that whole toolkit available to someone, and again, giving the ability to kind of tap into all of those different things.
Absolutely. So Me Too recommended there, Wiser and A Part of Me from Ollie, who's just 16 years of age. So Ollie's obviously well placed and well-minded to sort of think about the needs for young people as well. And I think it's about, you touched on it there, Lloyd, about whenever a person turns towards needing mental health support, that they find it in an avenue which they feel comfortable. And it's really worth stressing that, isn't it? That can be a whole wide range of different things. The online world can obviously play a huge part, as well as the sort of the real life world. I guess those things have got to sort of meet up though as well, haven't they? So that people don't feel like support only exists online, that it may signpost further down the line to a different service, a real life service, if you like.
Absolutely. And there's a big difference between managing your well-being and managing kind of mental health and perhaps more complex issues. And the important thing is for people not to feel that they're alone and they have to go through this by themselves. And sometimes kind of that's the downside of technology. It can be, you can feel that you're the only one kind of connecting and feeling this way. So it's important that you do connect with others. It's important that you know that you are not alone in this, and that there is a whole wide range of help available. And if you are experiencing those challenges to your mental health that are feeling like they're overwhelming, then it is really, really important to kind of seek out professional help. In the first instance, going to see your GP and being signposted to the right help available. Sometimes when we're in the midst of that, it's difficult to know what help you need. And so having that external perspective can be absolutely kind of critical. So I don't want people to feel that, technology is the panacea, that this is the only route that people have. It's important that it is one of many kind of options available.
What a brilliant shout. What a brilliant shout. Ollie, just give us a sense maybe of what this next week or so is going to hold for you, because I guess, crucial moments for you, decisions to be made, hopefully some celebrating along the way.
Yeah. There is a party organised for Results Day, which I think everyone is looking forward to, not depending on your results. I'm really just trying to take my mind off it. I know I've put 100% in, so my results will reflect that. But yeah, I'm just trying not to think about it.
And that's a great attitude. But I like the idea where, because I guess you can have a party, because of course it's always worth getting together with your friends, no matter what is going on in life. No, absolutely as well. And Dr. Lay, let's bring it back around to the wider conversation around results day for people who are concerned about what's coming up this week, or they're feeling just maybe that the sort of preempting of next week is getting a bit too much for them. What would you say? What would you recommend?
Well, I think Ollie has made a great point, which is about kind of sometimes distracting yourself, but being able to kind of take your mind away from it. For me, it's about actually, making sure that you can fill your time with activities that give you a sense of pleasure, a sense of joy, but also give you a sense of achievement as well. So being able to fill that time and being able to make sure that your mind doesn't keep wandering back to the day next week. So there are lots of things that you can do and to kind of tap into that. So for me, it's about kind of trying to manage that by finding those activities that give you a sense of pleasure and joy and give you a sense of kind of achievement that you've done something.
Can I ask you as well from a parent's point of view as well, for those parents who are sort of seeing their son or daughter going through and living that sort of experience, and they're thinking, okay, well, I understand why they're feeling apprehensive. What are those maybe signs that they should look out for that maybe show that there may be something else going on there, or something that they maybe need to make a small intervention on potentially?
Well, it's difficult to kind of answer that in a definitive way because everyone manages their anxiety in different ways. So the kind of common signs that you're going to see are people feeling agitated and over aroused and perhaps even poor sleep and things like that. So, all of these signs that people and these experiences that people have, it's not necessarily kind of a sign of pathology of kind of, not being able to kind of cope. Where I would say is really it's about the impact that it's having, both on the young person and their relationships. And when that is kind of having such a significant and severe impact, then that's kind of where we need to kind of intervene and perhaps kind of look for other ways to kind of help and support. So there's lots of signs and symptoms, but again, this is a normal experience to go through. It's when the impact that we need to kind of have a look at.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, both of you, today. Really appreciate you joining us for Mental Health Monday. Fascinating conversation. ORCHA, people can find out more information about the organisation for the review and care of health apps. ORCHA, with their managing director, clinical psychologist, Dr. Lloyd Humphreys, 16-year-old Ollie Rollinson-Johns as well. Ollie, best of luck for next week as well. Enjoy the party. And whatever the next couple of years comes and throws your way as well. Thank you both for your time. Thanks for those recommendations as well. Thanks for joining us on the programme.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you've enjoyed this week's podcast. Thanks for checking out Mental Health Monday. My name is Mick Coyle. You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Mick Coyle. You can also find me, Mick Coyle, on Facebook as well. Don't forget, if you want to speak to somebody about your mental health, you can do so. The Samaritans, free to call on 116 123. You can find mental health services where you are. Just look for the Hub of Hope. Type in your postcode. It'll find those mental health services close to you. And for support in a crisis, you can text SHOUT to 85258. That's if you're experiencing a personal crisis, you're unable to cope and need support. Shout to 85258. That's a text line. Do get involved in those services. In an absolute emergency, always remember the number to call is 999. Thanks for downloading the podcast this week. We'll be back next week with more Mental Health Monday.